Ignatius L. Jackson, CPA here. So today we are talking about Trump accounts. We're going a deep dive in Trump accounts. We're going to talk through everything you need to know, at least everything we know right now that is important, time-sensitive information for you to start signing up for the accounts, which you can do now when you file your tax returns, right? So we're going to talk through that a little bit here, and we'll talk through some interesting strategies and things you can think about doing with these types of accounts. So go ahead and stay tuned. We're going to be right back in a second. All right, everybody, and we're back. Thanks for tuning in today. So as you can see, I have my 4547 shirt on. That's because there's a new form that the IRS has for creating these accounts that we're going to talk through here in a second. And so we're going to go through some of this stuff. We're going to go through some key information. Whether you like Trump or not, hopefully you can learn through this presentation that these accounts are phenomenal. I'll be honest, I initially did not like these accounts. I thought that they were a huge missed opportunity. I think we could have did some better things with them, but they're decent enough. I think they're a great opportunity to do some good planning and do some stuff for your kids' futures and put some money into there, let them grow. And hopefully over time, they grow into these massive dollar accounts that are great for your child's future. So I just think it's too big of an opportunity to pass up. So don't let my shirt or the name of the accounts or anything like that stop you from signing up for this. What's more important is your children's financial future. And like Trump or not, these accounts are a great tool available for your kids. And you should definitely put them into the mix of all the other stuff that you can do for your kids to save for their future. Okay. Like I said, these are about Trump accounts. Okay. A little disclaimer, as always. There's no rendering of advice here, okay? No financial advice, no tax advice, nothing like that. If you need any of those things, you got to hire us and pay us. That's basically what that means, right? And we obviously look at your specific situation in that case. We act as fiduciaries for you. We got to make sure we're compensated for giving that very specific individualized advice that will help you to decide what you want to do with these accounts, okay? Eligibility. First thing that we want to talk about with Trump accounts is who's eligible. So the child must be a U.S. citizen. They must have a valid Social Security number. They must be under the age of 18. They can only have one Trump account at a time. There's going to be different custodians probably available. Right now, there's really only one custodian that's going to be available, but over time, I'm sure that number is going to grow. And so what that basically means is you can move the account from custodian to custodian, but you can only have one account open at any given point in time. Okay. Contribution rules. So they divide these accounts into what's called a growth period and a kind of like a withdrawal period or a regular IRA period, something along those lines, okay? And so during the growth period, right, there's certain rules on what you can contribute to these Trump accounts, okay? There is a pilot program for $1,000. There's no contributions that are made prior to July 4th, 2026. The account must be opened either using IRS Form 4547, hence the shirt 4547, or at trumpaccounts.gov. My accountants and pros out there, other people, right, that are doing tax returns, make sure you're talking to your clients about this stuff. There's absolutely zero excuse you should not be talking to your clients about these accounts and deciding if they want to open up an account or not, because it's a very easy form to fill out that you add to the return, and they automatically will have the account open when they become available in July of 2026. You're doing your clients a disservice if you are not at least talking to them about this as an option and offering to fill out that form for them when you file the tax return, okay? Makes it nice and easy for them to do it. Your tax accountant did not talk to you about this or hasn't talked to you about it, ask them and make sure that they do it, okay? Don't let them out of this just because they don't want to fill out a form 4547, which is tied to President Donald J. Trump, and they don't like President Donald J. Trump, okay? That's bullcrap. In fact, I'd argue that those people should not be practicing taxes if that's how they feel. Even though I didn't like Biden, I didn't not do stuff or not encourage people to do things like the credits for the electric vehicles and stuff like that. We knew about them. We talked to clients about them. We gave clients the ability to claim those. So even though I didn't really agree with the accounts or the credits, excuse me, we still had to do our fiduciary responsibilities and let them know, hey, this is available. This could save you some money. If you want to take advantage of it, take advantage of it. So hopefully accountants and people out there realize that and understand that and will do what they need to do to make sure that people get to take advantage of this. Okay. So the child must be born for this $1,000 pilot program. The child must be born between 1/1/25 and 12/31/28. Okay. I'm suspecting that this will be extended, as with most entitlement programs, they're never for a short period of time. Unfortunately, in the United States of America, we love extending entitlement programs and wasting money. This one's actually not that big of a waste of money, in my opinion, but we are still in a lot of debt and we really didn't need to spend this money. I wish we did these accounts without this pilot program, but since they're doing it, we are where we are. So it does not count against other contribution limits. And there's a one-time contribution by the US government, basically. Okay, so that's what the $1,000 pilot program is. Essentially, if you have a child that was born during 2025 all the way through 2028, you're going to get $1,000 into a Trump account in their name, and that's going to be able to grow for the next 18 years roughly of their life. And as that grows during that 18 years, if they let it continue staying there, we're going to go through some numbers later on, it can grow pretty exponentially. So pretty cool. All right. Other types of contributions, other government and nonprofit contributions besides $1,000, right? So these first two items are common amongst all these contributions, so I'm not going to repeat them, okay? No limit on contribution amount for governments and nonprofits, okay? It's not taxable to the parents. The child does pay taxes on the contribution amount from governments and nonprofits when withdrawn or converted to Roth later in life. Okay, so that one does require you to pay some taxes, or for the child to pay taxes later in life. And it does not count toward your overall general $5,000 limit per year. Employer contributions is the next type of contribution that you can do. All right, you can do up to $2,500 per year. It's allowed per employer. So if you work for two different employers, you could potentially have $2,500 coming from each employer, and it is going to be inflation adjusted. These contributions do count towards the $5,000 limit, general limit per year. Okay. It is not taxable to your parents, or to the parents. I should say the parents are probably the ones watching this video. The child pays taxes when they withdraw it or convert it to Roth later in life. Okay. Generally generally is deductible, excuse me, as a business expense for the employer that is making the contribution. So if you work for a big corporation like Dell, for example, actually they're doing that for non-employees. They're just doing that personally. But there's some other companies that have come out and said, I think Microsoft is one, a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head, where they are basically saying that they're going to contribute to their employees' Trump accounts for their kids. Then those items are likely going to be deductible. There's still a little bit of debate about whether they are or not, but I'm pretty confident they're going to be deductible. I can't see why they wouldn't be deductible. It's just like any other cafeteria 125 plan, basically should be deductible. So I think we'll be fine there. Just need a little rules and clarification, I think, from the IRS potentially. And then we have general contributions. So if it doesn't fit into one of those first three categories, right, then it's just going to be a general contribution. Basically, anyone can contribute to your child's Trump account. Okay. And what's unclear at the moment is whether the child themselves can contribute to their own account. Reading through the law, I didn't see anything specifically saying that the child can't contribute to their own account, but everything that the IRS has been writing down and people have been talking about has been indicating that it's coming from others, like parents, nieces, grandparents, that kind of thing, right? Or not nieces, sorry, aunts and uncles. Maybe you have some older nieces potentially, but basically anyone can contribute to the Trump account. So I think we may be able to have kids contribute to their own accounts potentially, which is going to become important a little bit later on here. So it's something that we have to figure out, needs more guidance on. But right now, that's kind of the plan there. General contributions are up to $5,000, but remember, you have to reduce it by any contributions from nonprofits and governments or contributions from employers. Okay. So you do not have to do it. You do not have to increase or decrease it for nonprofits and governments, but you do need to decrease it for contributions from employers. Clarify that. So for example, if an employer contributes $1,000, then you can only contribute $4,000 from other sources. Okay. Anybody, whether that's from you, from the grandparents, from whoever. Okay. So you're going to have to keep track of this a little bit. Hopefully the custodians will have a tool that will help you track this and make sure you don't over contribute, but we'll see how that all plays out. Anybody can contribute to it with no income limits or earned income requirement. I've already kind of mentioned the people that are eligible to do it. Contribution limits for general contributions will be indexed for inflation. after 2027 tax year. They are not deductible for personal contribute for the person making the contribution. Okay. You do not get a tax deduction for making this contribution to your child's Trump accounts. There's no taxes to the child on contribution amount when they withdraw it or convert to Roth later in life because it creates basis. So because you didn't have to pay taxes on the employer portion, it does not create basis. Same thing with the government and nonprofit portions. Since you didn't pay any taxes when that was contributed to you, it does not create basis. So that means you have to pay tax on those contribution amounts when you pull it out later. But in this case, since there's no deduction that was received by your parents or grandparents or whoever put money in, you do get basis for those contributions, just like an after-tax account for an IRA. Very similar how that works, right? So you don't have to pay taxes on that after-tax contribution amount, but you do pay taxes on the growth of that amount. Okay. There's no state income tax deductions available as of now. There's no opportunity for tax-free distributions unless you convert to Roth. Again, you're paying some taxes on that Roth conversion, so it's not like it's completely tax-free. And there's no flexibility with beneficiary changes. So if you recall, like 529 plans, covered L's, that kind of thing, if you don't end up using them for that specific child or beneficiary, you can change it to another child that you have, or really any other family member that is kind of related to the file, immediate family members and stuff like that. Something else to kind of think about. And here's the potential snack. So this needs to be clarified. They may need to do an additional law amendment to make sure this is very clear. And the IRS has not opined on this yet. But there's a lot of experts out there, myself included, having read through the legislation and everything, that for gift tax, for the exemption for gift, when you gift someone money, right, you have to report that on a gift tax return unless you meet the exemption or yes, there's an exemption. That's what it's called. So each year you can exempt up to $19,000 of gifts to an individual from gift tax returns. Okay. But there's a criteria that it has to be for a present benefit and not a future benefit. Okay. Meaning they have access to it, they can use it, they can do whatever they want with it. That's a present benefit for the gift, not a future benefit. Okay. And so because of that rule regarding present benefit, there's a lot of people who are saying that any amount you contribute to the Trump account as an individual is not considered to be a exempted gift because it does not create a present benefit. I actually kind of disagree with that position. Obviously, that's not the intent of the lawmakers. So even if technically that might be correct, I don't think that's going to end up standing. I think there's going to be an amendment or something passed that will correct this in some legislation down the road here. But even if there wasn't one, I'm not too sure that that interpretation is going to be accurate. I could think of, some other areas where you could make the same argument, but that's not the case for that. So yeah, let's just see where that shakes out. But as of right now, something I wanted to at least throw out there and make sure people are aware of, you might potentially have to file a gift tax return if you're contributing to the Trump tax accounts. Or the Trump accounts, excuse me, not tax accounts. All right, so very stringent investment rules for the first, 18 years of the child's life, or basically until they turn 18, since you can open these accounts at any point before they turn 18. You have however many years you have there. So it's limited to low cost, US focused index funds or mutual funds, okay? ETFs, etc. All right. Most commonly S&P 500, right? Has to have an expense ratio less than 10 basis points. There's no leverage allowed. Must be predominantly US-based companies. Tax deferred earnings like an IRA after age 18, okay? Which age 18 basically is defined as the year that they turn 18 on January 1st, okay? Once that happens, you can then invest in anything you want because the account converts to be just like any other traditional IRA, okay? So for the most part, there's always an exception to the rule, right? So for the most part, it converts to be just like any other traditional IRA at that point, okay? So at that point, you could do virtually any of the other investments that you can do with any other IRA account, okay? But yeah, during that growth period, very restricted on what you can do, okay? Distributions and withdrawal rules. The growth period, again, before January 1st of the year the child turns 18, there's basically no distributions unless it's due to death or an excess contribution or a rollover to another Trump account. Those are the only really exceptions of pulling money out. This I like a lot. This is different than some other accounts that are out there like UGMAs and UTMAs. You could pull the money out at any point. So this helps to stop parents from rating their child's savings for the future, right? by not allowing any distributions whatsoever unless the child passes away, God forbid, right? And or excess contributions or rollovers, stuff like that, right? So this is a great feature of Trump accounts that I think is awesome. We need more of that. That's good. Okay, if the distribution is due to death, it is subject to income tax to the beneficiaries, but there is no penalty for the early withdrawal. Okay. After age 18, okay, same criteria here. Account basically converts to a traditional IRA, so the distributions are income taxed at ordinary income tax rates. Okay. Subject to other IRA rules on withdrawals, conversions, etc. After the age of 18, there's an early withdrawal penalty before 59 and a half years old, just like any other IRA, unless it's for education, home purchase, medical, disability, etc. There's certain rules, additional rules and caveats in there. Look at the IRA rules in terms of what are exceptions to the penalties if you want to look into any of that. I'm not going to go through all those in detail here, but there's ways you can pull the money out. Obviously, you should encourage the child to keep it in there and use it as a retirement account. If they do that, that's how they become a millionaire or even multimillionaires. We're going to go through some numbers here in a second. Contributions that create basis in the IRA are not subject to tax or penalties. And death distributions after 18 have the same inherited IRA rules as other IRAs. Okay. For example, most beneficiaries are going to have 10 years to pull out the funds from a inherited IRA. It may be a good idea to start converting an account to a Roth IRA depending on the amount of income and kiddie tax rules. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. Key thing you have to be careful here with is kiddie tax rules. If you do the Roth conversion, Roth conversions are subject to kiddie tax rules because it's considered unearned income. Unearned income is subject to kiddie tax rules. So if the child doesn't have enough earned income, right, then they could potentially be paying taxes at the parent's income tax rate. So you have to be very, very careful with doing conversions when they are still kind of considered a dependent, basically. Essentially, they don't pay for more than half their own support. Until they pay for more than half their support and they're over 18, you got to be careful with this whole Roth conversion thing, okay? So an account initially established as a Trump account can never receive contributions under SEP IRAs or SIMP IRAs. Something important to note there. And similarly, an account initially established as Trump account can never be aggregated with other IRAs when allocating basis related to a distribution from either the Trump account or another individual retirement account. Okay. So to make things easier, again, this is where converting it to Roth probably makes a lot of sense, especially with the child's lower income taxes. Typically, you just have to be careful of the kiddie tax rules. All right, so here's some potential scenarios. All right, so let's say you just do the $1,000 contribution at birth only, and let's assume it's the average 11% annual return that you're receiving. Here's the numbers that you would be at. So if you do nothing else, add nothing else to it, at age 60, they have $524,000 in the account. All right. Age 18, 6,500. Age 30, 23,000. All right. If you do the $1,000 contribution at birth plus $1,200 per year or $100 per month, another way to say it, right? And same 11% return, and you stop contributing at age 18. So nothing else is put into it after they turn age 18. Okay. Here's where it can grow to. Look at that number of 60. $5.3 million. $5.366 million. $1 million. That's a lot of money. All right. Even in future dollars, right? Because this is not inflation adjusted. This is just kind of saying, hey, here's the return without considering inflation. Once you inflation adjust this probably turns into, I don't know, 6 or 7 million, who knows? But anyways, so that's in today's dollars, 5.3 million is still a lot of money. Okay. So yeah, pretty powerful. Even if they were to just use the account at age 67, or sorry, at age 18, they're going to have $67,000 available for like college or buying a house or whatever. So still a valuable way to save some money for their future. Okay. Just putting $1,200 a year in from birth. So 18 years basically. Bam. All right. Pretty cool. Let's say they do $1,000 contribution at birth plus $5,000 per year. Okay. And it's still 11% return. Wow. You stop contributing at age 18. And if they keep it in there till age 60, 20.663 million at age 60. All right. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Huh? All right. Let's say now that you have a kid that was born before this all came about. Let's just say they're 10 years old right now. All right. And you start putting money into the account at 10 years old and you stop at age 18 and you do $5,000 per year starting at age 10 through 18. Here's where you end up at. At age 18, you get 71,000. Age 60, you're at $5.686 million. So you have to put more into it, right, to get to that point. But very similar to if you were to put $1,200 per year at birth. That's the power of compound interest, guys. Look at that. If you start at birth, you only need to put $1,200 per year in, you get to 5.366 million. If you start at age 10 for 8 years, you got to put 5,000 per year in, you get to 5.686 million at age 60. Power compound interest. That's how that works. Okay. The later you start, the more you have to put in to get to the same level. All right. Now, for a lot of people who are like, 11% is too optimistic, the stock market will never do that over the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Okay, fine. Whatever. Let's just assume that you only average 8% annual returns. All right. Which is the most commonly used factor when doing financial planning, doing, estimates for future retirement account planning, all that kind of crap, right? So let's assume it's 8%. $1,000 contribution at birth only. Don't put anything else in the account. Here's where you end up at. At age 60, you can have $101,000. Okay. Just doing nothing else but leaving the $1,000 sitting there until age 60. All right. Let's say you do the $1,000 at birth plus $1,200 per year from birth until age 18. You get to 1.242 million if the child leaves it in there until age 60. At age 18, 49,000. Okay. At age 30, 123,000. So still great returns, right? Great way to build some wealth for the kid. They still become a millionaire if they leave it in there until age 60. They still become a millionaire. And all you had to do is put $100 a month into the account. I feel like most of us, even the ones that sometimes struggle, I feel like we can oftentimes find some way to put at least $100 into the account, even if we have to get it from like a grandparent or an aunt and uncle, et cetera, right? So I know I personally plan on, doing some stuff for my family and stuff like that that's out there. I'm sure others are probably going to do a similar thing, right? To be able to contribute to the kids that are in their families and stuff like that. People just aren't going to say that, right? They're not for whatever reason, but we're going to start seeing some cool stuff happening here. And if we can get more people to do some of this, right, it really helps to bridge the wealth gap that we have in the country. So yeah, pretty cool. All right, let's say $1,000 contribution plus 5,000 per year, 8% annual returns. Here's where you get to. All right, 4.84 million at the age of 60. Still pretty good. Not 5 million, but still pretty good, right? So 8% to 11%, not a super huge, it is a super huge gap, right? It doesn't get to 20 million, but you're still at about 4.8 million. That's still well worth it. Would you agree? I mean, let's just be real. That's still worth it. And if you convert that 191,000 to Roth when they turn age 18, all that's tax free. Did you think about that? Yes, that extra 4.6 million roughly, right, is tax free to the kid when they reach 59 and a half. So pretty cool stuff. All right. 5,000 per year, start at age 10 and you stop at age 18, 8% returns. Here's where you end up at. You still get to $1.571 million at the age of 60. Okay. So again, take that 62,000, convert it to Roth. You got 1.4 million, 1.5 million basically tax free. Okay. Pretty cool stuff. Can't beat it. Got to take advantage of it. Okay. Here's the key strategy to think about here. Once the child reaches age 18, you have the ability to convert it to a Roth account. We already kind of touched on this, right? Just be careful with this kitty tax. Chunk at it if you need to. Like if it's a big balance in there, chunk of that sucker. Make sure that you're not paying a bunch of taxes every year. So you can do it over like 2 or 3 years sometimes, right? To make it a little bit easier to stomach. If the child has a decent amount of income, earned income, and they are supporting themselves, then you could probably do it all in one shot, frankly, because they might only get to like the 28%, 30% bracket, whatever. And you could always, if you want to help pay for the taxes on that conversion, you're more than welcome to. You could do a gift to them to help pay for the tax on the conversion. So just something to kind of keep in mind, right? That is a present benefit because it's directly into their account and they can use it for whatever they want, which just happens to be to pay for the taxes. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so maybe a good idea, a chunk. Might need to wait till like 21, 22, 23 when your income tax is still, relatively low, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that's basically it. I mean, in a nutshell, those are the key things to think about, consider related to Trump accounts. So go ahead and review us. Get contact information here. You can scan that QR code. Sign up for our newsletter here if you want to. Otherwise, that has been today's episode. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. If you have not already, please like, subscribe, and share whatever channel you're looking at this on. We post on YouTube, Rumble, X, full videos. Other social media, we usually just post links to one of those other sites. But yeah, check out the video on either of those sites. A lot of cool stuff as you can see with Trump accounts. Just don't the only thing I can encourage people to is don't have your hatred for Trump and because the account is called Trump accounts stop you from taking advantage of these accounts. Okay. They have their place in any financial planning scenarios. You talk to a financial planner, financial advisor that is a fiduciary, has to be a fiduciary, guys. If you talk to anybody who's a fiduciary, they will give you some good guidance and advice on these accounts because let me tell you, broker dealers and stuff like that, they're not getting paid on these accounts. So they're not encouraged to tell you to put your money into a Trump account because they get no compensation for doing that. All right. So that's why you need to talk to a fiduciary that can help guide you on whether or not you should do this or not, give you some more specific, guidance, stuff like that. So feel free to, reach out to us if you want to talk to us. If you don't like us because we're Trump lovers, then whatever. I don't care. That's fine. Go find somebody that you can appreciate and that you can like, and that you get along with and have them help you through this. Have them help you get through this and understand this. I think these accounts are great. I think it's a great tool that's available for you. So definitely take some time to look into these, learn about them, and get ready because July 4th is not that far away. Don't forget to file on your tax return Form 4547, 4547. Okay. Don't forget to file that form. It's nice and easy to remember. Even if you don't like the guy, you can remember he's number 45 and number 47. So you know the form number now. All right. So go make sure your accountant files that for you. If you have kids that are under 18 and you want to open one of these accounts, even if you don't know if you want to contribute to them or not, at least open the account so that it's there and available because anybody can contribute to the account, right? Still need to find out how exactly the custodian will allow others to contribute. I'm pretty sure there's probably going to be some website where they could type in the person's name, date of birth, or social or something like that and be able to find the account and then contribute to it. Okay. They won't obviously be able to see what's in there or anything like that, but they should at least be able to find the account and contribute to it. Or you may have to give them some sort of account number or something like that so they can go to the website and make the contribution. So one way or another, they'll find some way to make sure people can contribute to these things. They have similar tools and stuff like that for 529s and Coverdell's and all that kind of thing. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to leave a comment. If you're being mean or ridiculous, then we're not going to respond to you. But if you got a valid question about Trump accounts or anything else, really, feel free to leave a comment. We'll get back to you. Hope everybody enjoyed this one. I hope you have a great day and peace.
This presentation is intended to be educational only and does not constitute a CPA or financial advisor-client relationship. It is always in your best interest to consult a competent legal financial advisor and/or tax professional when conducting your own personal transactions. Furthermore, it's important to do your own research when necessary to verify tax law when there's a lack of concrete guidance or gray areas of conversation.